All right, so a couple things. Number one, today by the end of third hour, I hope to have both the March 17 and 18 practice tests up. Again, I'm not going to go over the results of them until Tuesday. Remember, next week's a short week. If we finish up early today, we finish up early. We might not. It depends. We have a simulation that I really want to do, but I want to do it with everyone here to reinforce exactly how difficult operant conditioning is to do, but also the steps of it. And it's a fun activity, so we're going to do that Monday when everyone's back. Remember, TPQ's due next Thursday. It wouldn't be a bad idea to knock out a couple of those parts of it because it's 17, 18, 19. When we come back, remember we have a lot. We've got 4 more mods left to get to before our test. And so we are going to go relatively quickly on this stuff, especially because there's some changes afoot. So we're going to lose some days when we get to towards the end of the year with the senior privileges and all those kind of things. Yesterday we talked about schedules, and what we really wanted to make sure we understand is this idea of how do we implement. We finished up the last thing, right? The different types of reinforcers, correct? Now we're going to start with schedules, correct? Good? What's up? Oh, we stopped at conditions, so I need to back up a little bit. For those of you listening, we will, a little bit of this will be review then. We talked about this, right? Primary, condition, good. So we're at the right spot, you knucklehead. All right, so the schedule is this. How do we implement this? What is the way that we should implement this, and what are the results of that then? So how do we apply reinforcers to encourage or discourage behavior? And the key is going to be, when do we do it? We have a variety of types, and we're going to end up with kind of a Punnett square, 2 variables of different ways that we can do it as far as how we label them. The first is to think about scheduling as immediate. As soon as you do something, we give you the reward. As soon as you do something, we give you the reward. Now remember, what have we learned about learning? That's the way we are learning. If we really want to learn, has to be a month. So the quicker you learn, quicker you forget. And so yes, this will have a very fast learning curve, immediate, and a type that's like that, but it will also go away, and we'll explain why. The second is a delayed one. The example I give is like a weekly paycheck. So you get paid not for your actual behavior at the time of the behavior. You get paid at the end for what you've done. Now this creates problems. Why? If we're going to have a test in 2 weeks, good, so you don't get the immediate benefits, so you don't necessarily associate it with it. So since we don't have a test for 2 weeks, what is the reason for a test, first of all? Sure, it's supposed to be that. I like that. The idea that it's just supposed to be a check. What have you learned? And more importantly, it should be the starting point of learning. I didn't learn this. Let me go back and learn it. Now you can see why I hate school, right? So there's so many things we do that are frustrating because they don't actually do what it's supposed to do. In addition, if the goal is for you to do well on the test, when do you start getting ready to do well? Right? You do it the night before, 2 days before, because here's when the reinforcer is coming. You're not going to do anything until that happens. You've been trained, test is in 2 weeks, I don't do anything for 2 weeks. So that's one of the things I've been trying to break with that. Continuous reinforcement means the idea that even after you haven't had it, immediately you are still reinforced for a while. So we put food, and you notice, and a part of this I get out of the textbook and what they put down for notes and what they want you to understand. But I added the question mark next to sex. Is sex always, if we think about it being continuous, always reinforcing? A reinforcer does what to behavior? That improves, increases the likelihood, right? So it doesn't make you better at it, but a reinforcer makes you more likely to do it again. It's all sex positive. No, wait till college, people, right? Not all sex is rewarding. Not all sex is positive experiences. And so that one, while yes, it's considered in that category, we have to question that because it's not always because there's so many psychological things that go into it, and we'll get into that in the third unit. There's so many psychological things that go along with it. The very nature of it sometimes creates more problems than what it does for a reinforcer. Partial means sometimes we get it. It's not random. Random means you don't know when, and it has no meaning. Partial means sometimes I reinforce you, sometimes I don't. And you would do that deliberately because, for example, let's say the behavior, when you're first teaching, you are more likely to do a lot of reinforcing right away. Then the behavior exists, you stop reinforcing, and then over time the behavior will start to dissipate, and then you would add some back in, and then you would play with it. So it's the idea that we're not going to be on a set schedule. What we're going to do is we're going to modify it specifically based on behavior. What you should be thinking about as we talk through this is the practical applications of this. How have you been reinforced? What schedules are you on, and how does that affect your behavior? Is that schedule actually being functional for your behavior? Is it getting the results you want? And we'll keep coming back to the term of diets, because if you haven't been on one, wait. You know what I mean? That's just the nature of life. At your age, my biggest issue at your age, go ahead and laugh, was putting on weight. I graduated high school about my same height-ish, 6'1", 6'2". I was about 175 pounds. For football, that's not great when you're not fast. So I ended up playing middle linebacker, very undersized, and I couldn't put on weight. Dixie, you look like a kid that struggles with that, right? You could lift weights all you want. You'll get more muscle, you'll get more strength, but you ain't going to put on bulk and mass easy. And that's how I was in high school. Hopefully for you don't have the 40s like I do, right? You have to look down. Just because I touch it doesn't mean you have to look at it. Stop! All right, here's our little Punnett square. We have two different things we can talk about that set up how we deliver a reinforcement. The first is fixed, and then a ratio. So this means, fixed means every, and then ratio is a number of responses, every time or every number of times. So the picture I have on the right is of roofers. How are roofers paid? No, that's a terrible way to pay roofers is by the hour. Not by the job, by the bundle of shingles. Because your goal is to get the roofers to put shingles up as fast as you can. The goal of the roofer is to make as much money as fast as possible. So when you get a bundle of shingles done, you get $100. Now from the contractor, this makes a lot of sense because he doesn't want you working on that house for 3 weeks. Because he doesn't get paid by the hour. He gets paid by the job. All right, I'll put a new roof on your house for $15,000. Awesome. His goal is to get that roof successfully put on as quick as possible so that his guys can get onto another roof. So most roofers nowadays don't pay by the hour. If they do, that's a terrible idea because what does that encourage the roofers to do? Go slower, work. Then you're getting paid for how long you're there. I hate jobs that are paid by the hour. I suck at them because I want to get done and go do other stuff. I like to be efficient. So these jobs are very good for me. Get your stuff done, go home. Get your stuff done, go home. The second then is variable. So notice we changed one of these two. We still have a ratio, so it's based on a number of responses. But now you don't know how many things you have to do before you get your reward. What does the casino want you to do? Good. Do they want you to stay there? Do they care how long you're there? A little bit, but not because of the way that we think about it. How does a casino make money? People keep playing. So they want you to be there as long as it takes to empty your pockets. And the way they do that is slot machines. How do you win at a slot machine? Well, luck. So you put in money, and sometimes, we don't know when, we make money back. Does it matter how long you sit at the slot machine? No, because if you just go once an hour, I'm going to put in a quarter, does that increase your chance of winning? No, it's I need to put in coins, and the faster I put them in, the faster I'm likely to win. Now think about why people get addicted to it. You just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. The next one could. My wife and I actually met at a casino. We both worked there. And the behavior we saw from people is just disheartening. People that would be there, they would pee all over themselves because they refused to get up from their slot machine because they'd been there for 6 hours. And they knew the next one could be the one that gets them to win, right? So that system works very well, but the problem is you have to potentially continuously give the reinforcement at some variable interval. So the problem is the minute you remove the reinforcer, the behavior is immediately going to stop. Think about this. Some of you have gone to casinos already a bunch, or at least you start to do that, and you're like, oh, those machines are terrible. Well, no, that machine might be just as set payoff as another machine, but you've had bad luck, so now you won't participate in that one. So this is a hard one to set up for jobs. Now we don't change the first part. We go back to fixed, so it's a set, and this time it's interval, means period of time. This is how we set up tests, and this is stupid. Why? Why is it stupid? Good. When does your TPQ due? Good. How many of you have started doing it? Why have the rest of you not? Because it's not due till next Thursday. So why would I do it now? Well, what is the reason we give TPQs? A, it's to help offset your test grades. B, it's kind of a review when you think about it. You have to read the chapter and think about it, which is what you have to do on the test, is think. So it forces you to do what psychology is, which is asking and answering questions. The problem is that is a good activity, a good assignment that builds on what we do, but our reinforcement schedule makes it less effective. So let's say I had the test on next Friday. I know we don't have school, just stick with my analogy here. The TPQs are due Thursday, the test is Friday. Here's what I know is going to happen. When are most of you writing next Thursday's TPQs? Wednesday night, that's how it used to be. The TPQ closes at Thursday at midnight. So when are most of you writing the TPQ? Thursday night. Well, if the test was Friday, does the process of doing a TPQ help you much for Friday's test? No, it just doesn't, because you need to have time to reflect. Remember, the longer it takes you to learn stuff, the longer that stuff sticks. Your understanding takes a while to build. The best way to do it is variable interval, which means a random time period. So, you want to know how I could get you to study the most? You have no idea what day tests are at all. So you could walk in Monday and I have a test. And Tuesday you walk in and I have another test. And then I don't give you a test for 2 weeks. And then you walk in and I give you a giant test. And then I give you a test 2 days later. And you have no idea. Now originally what would happen to your grade? It would tank. But what would happen to your study habits? It would have to go up, right? Because you're like, I don't know when I'm taking the test, so I have to study tonight. I have to study tonight. Why don't teachers give pop quizzes then? Because most teachers don't. Good. What are the reinforcers for teachers? Why? Okay, so maybe it means they're a good teacher. Maybe they keep their jobs. I like to keep their jobs better. Good. Good, so there's that. But that isn't reflected on grades. That's actually reflected on learning. That's why those tests are actually beneficial. Like your ACT is better than every test you've ever taken in high school, because the ACT actually shows what can you understand and think about, right? How about this? What do parents want from you guys? Good grades. So if I make a really difficult course that a lot of kids struggle with, what do I increase for me? Hassling of parents. So does that encourage or discourage me to make a class difficult? It discourages. So I make the class difficult for you, it actually becomes a punisher for me. How about this? What do you want from a class? What's that? Yeah, you want it to be easy and you still want to get a good grade. Give me a teacher who has set up a system where it's easy, unaccountable, and get good grades. D-Wall. Why does D-Wall have classes set up that way? Because it's incredibly intelligent for him to do it that way. Number of kids go up. Is his class required for graduation? Nope. None of them are required, but he offers an art credit for one. So how many of you fulfilled your art credit by going to D-Wall because you knew it would be an easy class, right? So if D-Wall makes his class really hard, really challenging, lots of homework, do kids sign up for it? No. How about this? How about the business department? Think of how few kids leave Hastings High School majoring in horticulture or agriculture. Now think of how many kids leave Hastings High School and major in business. Why don't kids take accounting classes then? Anybody in accounting? How many kids were in your class? Yeah. Yeah, so last year there weren't very many kids in it. Somebody has it this year that said there were 10 kids in their class. Isn't accounting a useful skill? For like all of you, how to manage a budget, why don't you take the class? It's not required for college. One more class to worry about. A lot of work. You're not guaranteed to get a good grade. So you're like, well, why would I do that? So now you have to think about it from teachers' perspectives. So is this class hard? Yeah. Why can I make this class hard and my numbers are still really high? I have 125 kids signed up next year for this class. Good. Number one, there is a huge carrot. You get college credit. Number two, what else? It's an interesting class, but if I don't have both of those things, I can't make it hard. Even though it's interesting, if I make it this hard and you don't get the college credit, how many of you don't take this class? Hands? Yeah, good. I mean, that's honesty. Why would I give myself a really hard class that's going to hurt my GPA if I don't get a college credit? You're not gonna. All right, econ, was that hard? Was the class set up to be hard? Lots of homework, things like that. Okay, why not? It's a required class for graduation. The kids who are really interested already took micro or macro or AP Gov. And so what's the incentive for me to make that class really, really challenging? How would kids view the class? They'd hate it. How many phone calls would I get from parents from little Johnny and Susie who might not graduate because of their senior econ class? More than I got first semester, which was 0. You know what I mean? Now, who had me? Tuck, you did. Godfrey, civics. Sarah, I know you did. Freshman civics. Is my freshman civics class hard? Really? Okay. My freshman civics class writes now 4 DBQs, full DBQs. They write 2 papers. How about, you remember the presentation first semester? In our freshman civics class presentation, you stand up here with the partner. Behind you on the PowerPoint, there's no words, 1 picture. It's timed. You get no note cards, no script. You stand up here and talk for 2.5 minutes. That's your freshman presentation. That's hard as hell, right? Really? How many of you, the idea of that stresses you out? Right? Now, why can I make civics hard? What's that? Good, it's required. You're new to the high school, so you don't know different anyway, so I get to kind of be a drill sergeant, right? Now, does that create more problems for me? Yeah, with parents. The question then becomes this: how long will I be willing to withstand the amount of parent criticism I get because little Johnny and Susie, who was an A student all the way through middle school, comes to civics and gets a B at best? That's the question, because is there any reward for me to do that? There is a reward. What is it? Nope. That's the reward for them. They don't see it right away. What's the reward for me? Actually, no. Like later on, I get like in econ. Think of how many 1B kids I had, and how many of them liked me. Like I actually do really well with that population. Why are you laughing? Does it surprise you? I can see why it would surprise you, but that's because you see me in this setting. In that setting, it makes perfect sense. Here's the thing, though. The only reward is the one that matters the most and lasts the longest. What is the reward? respect from me. I go home and I feel good about myself. Whether they like it or not, they are more prepared for honors world studies. They're more prepared for their AP test. They're more prepared for ACTs. When they're 25, I can see them in Coburn's and know they're not going to say, I took his class and it was a joke. Like, that is the reward. Now, we all do this, so at some point, the other things, the punishers from other people, might wear me down, and I finally go, enough, right? Now think about some of the teachers you have and some of the behavior you see, and start to think about it from their perspective. What are the schedules they're on, and what are the rewards and punishers they deal with? Now, punishment then. If a reinforcer increases a behavior, what does a punisher have to do? Decrease the behavior. So on tests, I will tell you right now, the challenge is this. How do we tell the difference between a negative reinforcer and some form of punishment? The first step, in my opinion, is to ask, are they trying to increase or decrease a behavior? I will also tell you this, punishment is dumb. Now, those of you that have had me for other classes or have had me, over the years, you've heard me complain about schools a lot, right? Econ, that's basically all I did is piss and moan about schools and how stupid we are. Let's talk about what we're trying to do in schools and what we're actually doing in schools. And you start to realize what the problem is, right? Think about tests. Our goal is to get you to learn as much as you can, critical think, understanding, complex problem solving, and the test is simply supposed to be a measure of what did you do well, what did you understand, and that's when learning starts. Because you've identified, I don't know it. At schools, what do? We fail the test, what do? Move on. What should we do? Stop, go back, and move on. So I'll be honest, civics, that's what we're changing. You have to get a 70% on every quiz and every test before you can even do the next activity. I don't care if you take it 100 times. You have to get a minimum 70% before you can move on. Like, isn't that what it should be? Like, it shouldn't be, I understand it, all right, now I can move on. And some kids are going to figure it out quick. And some kids are going to figure it out slow. But here is the thing, is what we've done is we have given kids, we've punished kids by when they fail a test, their grade goes down. And if they already go, well, I'm not good at tests, why would I study? Right? So we encourage them to not study because they're going to fail a test. Well, now they're going to have to take that test a whole bunch of times. Does anyone want to take a test a bunch of times? No. So what's it going to force you naturally, subconsciously to do? Study the first time to just get the hell through it. Right? Either you don't like it, at least I just have to get through it. We don't do that in classes. We just encourage so many kids to just get through and move on. Cell phones. God, I hate our cell phone policy. Why? Good. Well, that shows a lot about your parents. But number one, and not you, it shows a lot about your parents. And you've already revealed a lot of that the last couple of days. That's not insulting, but it shows the methodology they've done. Number one, it decreases the behavior, but does it really decrease the behavior when we punish you? We tell you what with cell phones. No, don't use them. What does it get you to do? Sneaky use them. Hide it. What do we really want you to do with cell phones? Good. Do we do anything to encourage you to use your cell phones in the correct manner? Not as a school. What is my cell phone policy with you guys? Yeah. Don't be stupid. What is my cell phone policy with my freshmen? Do what you want. Don't be stupid. Do I walk in sometimes and the kid is playing a game on his phone? Yes. What do? I stop and I'll talk to him. I'll be like, hey, is that the right thing you should be doing right now? Like, is this the time? I give you a lot of freedoms. Is that really the right decision to make right now? That's it. I walk in, the kid is playing music on his iPhone when classes started, or before class starts. Hey, is that really what we should be doing? First of all, I don't care. But it's a little rude of you to think that everyone wants to hear the music you want to hear. And you're now putting me in a tough position because then the principals are going to hammer me. Is that a good choice? And then I'm done. If a kid's, I hate when people talk about cell phones like, oh, nobody ever talks anymore because they're always on their phones. That's all you do with your phone. It's talk, right? Think about every app that you use a lot. All of this is a way for you to communicate with somebody else. right? We don't want you to cheat with cell phones. Whose fault is it if you cheat with cell phones? Ours. Could you cheat with your cell phone in my class? On my tests? No. Go ahead and Google the questions on the test and see what the hell happens, right? Now, go ahead. Good luck. You know what I mean? Now, there might be a question here or there, but you know you're not getting any on my test because you Google it. There's just no way. Now, you try and talk to somebody else. Imagine, they're timed. Imagine how long it would take for Volk to text Moose and go, hey, for question 1, what was the answer? What's the problem? They have different questions. So then he's got to type in, hey, here's the question. And then he's got to type in all of the options because all the options are different. Like, all I've done is said, hey, if you want to try and cheat, go ahead, but that just seems like a lot of work, right? At no point am I trying to punish you. But all we do at this school, and all we do at all schools, is set up punishments instead of trying to teach correct behavior. We address the problems. Now listen, are there kids who use their phones to look at porn during school? Yes, of course there are. You've got 1,500 and 700 of them are teenage boys, and a bunch of teenage boys are stupid. Of course people are going to make bad choices. Does that mean we should tell you cell phones are bad? No. How about we start by saying, hey, stupid, is this the right time to do that? You think the girl sitting next to you in class really wants to see that? You think the guy, like, come on. Let's make good choices. Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson. Ray Rice knocked his wife out. Did anyone defend Ray Rice? Nope. Made jokes about it, like they'd bring like mannequins in a Ray Rice jersey, or they'd come with their wife and want to be in Ray Rice jersey and the other one have a makeup black eye, right? But nobody defends Ray Rice. Society tells us what about hitting women? It's wrong. Is there ever a reason to hit a woman? First of all, that's stupid. That's stupid. There's always a reason to hit somebody. If I come home and my wife is having a psychotic breakdown and she's going to hurt Charlie, is it okay to hit my wife then? You know what I mean? Not to punish her, but to get her to stop. Yeah, there's reasons. So first of all, that's stupid. Don't ever, I hate when people say, there's never a reason to hit a woman. No, there are reasons to hit a woman. But it's never because of the reasons people do hit women. Now think about Adrian Peterson. Anybody defend Adrian Peterson? How stupid is spanking? I'm telling you right now, if you ever hit your kid, you have failed as a parent. If your parents ever hit you, they failed as a parent. Because you should never need to hit a kid. This is pretty simple. If I came home and Lynn and I had a disagreement and I was demonstrably proven right, is it okay for me to spank her? Don't smirk. Don't be creepy about this. I'm trying to make an analogy. What's that? Wrong word? No, I can't. Because I'm making the analogy to my child. Fine. Is it ever okay for me to come home and have a disagreement with my wife and smack her to teach her a lesson? Is that ever okay? No. Hey, I told you I like my pasta al dente. You know what I mean? Now, it's funny how outraged some people are. Now think about how we treat children. My son worships me. I'm not saying that bragging. That's what all little kids do to their parents. Think back, at some point in your life, you worshipped, idolized your parents. All my son wants to do is make me proud and make sure I love him. He wants to be around me all the time. He wants to do whatever I'm doing. He idolizes me. He thinks I am perfect. I constantly have to remind him I'm not, because he hasn't figured it out yet, which shows he's young and stupid, right? Flat out, my kid loves me, and he is helpless. He can't leave my house. He can't go someplace else. He's a kid who doesn't understand. And you're going to hit him? I mean, how stupid is that? Think about what punishment does. If I hit Charlie, what does it do besides what I think it does? I think Charlie doesn't eat his dinner, so I spank him. So I've taught him to eat dinner, right? What have I really taught him? Be afraid of me, number one. What else? Hitting's okay. What else? Harry, what else? It's okay. When I hit my child, What else am I teaching him about whatever behavior he's doing? Correct. So number one, we teach to suppress, not extinguish the behavior. The goal is for my son to make good choices when nobody's looking. The goal is for you to make good choices when nobody's looking, which means, number one, we have to allow you to fail, and we have to hold you accountable when you do fail. And punishing does neither. We teach you to suppress the behavior, hide it, not to think through your actions and say, is this the right choice? So, I want Charlie to be at 40 years old in better shape than I am. Now, flat out, all jokes aside, for 40, I'm doing fine. I really am. Right? I'm flexible as heck for 40. I can go in and work out. Can I compete with 18-year-old guys? No. Right? There's only one person I know who can compete with 18-year-old guys, and that's Cook. Even Cork is starting to slow down. McClay is starting to slow down. Age catches up to you. But for 40, honestly, I'm fine for 90% of the population. I want my son to be in better shape than I am, so I don't hide what I do. I talk to him and tell him, hey, Charlie, I need you to help me eat better. I don't always make good choices, buddy. Can you help me eat better? Because I don't want to be the guy who's like, I'm trying to lose weight. And then I sneak through the McDonald's drive-thru at 2 a.m. and order 8 Big Macs and hide in my car and eat it. Do people do that? Yeah. Because the behavior wasn't changed. We're just punished for other things. Number two, it teaches us to discriminate. So Harry had the example of your parents told you the house was wired. All that did was teach you to do the stuff you wanted to outside of the house. It doesn't teach you at your grandma's, at your dad's house. So it doesn't teach you why you shouldn't do that behavior. I mean, that's the goal, is to completely eliminate whatever unhealthy behavior that you're doing, not to teach you to hide it. So first of all, I don't drink. I don't want you to drink. But do I tell you if you drink, you're a terrible human being? No. I tell you, hey, there's consequences I don't want you to suffer because of society right now. I tell you that there are potential consequences, especially for ladies, about drinking, especially in risky situations that I don't want you to deal with. What is my solution, by the way, to the drinking issue? What's that? No. Legalize it for everyone. Everyone. Half the reason you drink is to feel like an adult because it's something you can't do. Why is it that drinking peaks at age 22 and declines for the rest of your life after that? It's not novel. It's not cool. I'm not being an adult. It's not a surprise. Right? So the people that you're left with that still drink heavily after that tend to be the people that have alcohol issues. Pot in Colorado. What's happened to teen use? It's gone down because they can wait till they're 21. It's no longer some kind of big taboo F you. Right? It can teach fear. I don't know how it does it, first of all. I got to be honest, as a kid, I was beat to hell. It never taught me to stop the behavior. It taught me to hide it so I wouldn't get punished. It taught me to be afraid. It taught me that anger is an okay expression. Now, you can see it with me, right? Some of you maybe know, but people who've known me for a while, you've seen me lose it at times, right? Moose, you've seen me lose it a couple of times. I don't like to do that. I don't do it very often anymore. I've gotten much better at it. But I have a quick temper. And that's because, I got to be honest, this was what was shown to me, is it's okay to express your anger and frustration. It's okay to do that. And it doesn't matter how you do it, it's allowed. It does increase aggression through bottling, flat out. Now, aggression doesn't necessarily mean punching. But here's what we know. Kids who are physically abused are far more likely to be physically abusive and bullies, especially at school. Girls who are physically abused manifest differently. The aggression comes out as depression, low self-esteem, anxiety, risky behavior sexually, and with chemicals. Now, as we think about this, every time we need to institute a punishment, if you really truly look back, almost every time it's a failure of reinforcing. It's a failure of teaching correct behavior in the right setting. That doesn't mean I haven't wanted to hit Charlie. Hell yes, I've wanted to hit Charlie. And judge me all you want for saying that. Ask any parent. I'm telling you right now, when he's at hockey and he's being lazy and doesn't want to work, I want to punch him in the face so bad. When he was an infant, at 3 months old, he was screaming and crying, and he wouldn't stop. And Lynn was back at work, and I was losing my mind. He was dry. He was fed. I'm not getting much sleep. I'm exhausted. I want to kill him. I'm scared of how angry I am. So I set him down in the house. We lived in a townhouse at the time. I set him down, and I walk outside as he's screaming. And again, this is in Egan in a townhouse community, so it's not like you have a ton of space. And my Jeep was out there. And I grabbed the Jeep by the mirror and the side rail, and I screamed until I was hoarse and shook the Jeep as hard as I could, and I literally broke the mirror off the Jeep. I was screaming until I was shaking, exhausted. And then I was calm enough and I was exhausted enough I could walk back in. I'm telling you, I've wanted to hit that kid so many times. But none of that would do what I wanted to do. None of that would get him to bring water to his friends on his own. None of that would get him to be a polite, nice kid. It would teach him that when dad's around, you better watch your ass. What happens when dad's not around then? Like I'm telling you, don't think I'm telling you I'm a perfect parent. I'm not. I make mistakes all the time. What I do is I tell Charlie when I make a mistake. I tell him, I'm sorry, man, I screwed up right there. I shouldn't have yelled at you. He still reminds me about when he was 3 years old and I yelled at him and I made him feel bad. We were going to a park. I hate being late. It drives me nuts. I get super anxiety with that, especially when people are waiting for us. And I suck at directions, so I'm insecure. So now we're on our way to a parade in Cottage Grove to meet Cork and his kids, and they have construction. So I'm lost, and Cork is texting me. And Charlie's just a happy little 3-year-old in the Jeep talking. And I'm trying to figure out where the hell I am, and I'm getting more and more pissed and more and more pissed. And finally I'm like, Charlie, I don't have time for this. Just shut up right now. And he goes, okay, Dad. And just tears come down. And then it's immediate. I'm like, I'm the biggest jerk on earth. And so I stay calm. Let me rephrase it. I bottle up the rage inside. We finally find a spot, and I stop. And I go, Charlie, I am so sorry. You did nothing wrong. I lost my temper. I shouldn't do that. We should never say shut up to people. And there's no reason that I should yell at you. I am so sorry, buddy. And he's like, it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. Hey, buddy, when I yell at you, it's okay for you to tell me, Dad, should you be yelling? Right? And he's like, okay. I said, can you help me with that? I said, yep, I can do that. And then still to this day, he'll be like, Dad, remember the time you yelled at me and made me feel bad? I do, thanks, Dick. No, I don't say the last part. I think it. Right? But listen, Charlie might end up a giant drug dealer in Hastings. He's 6 years old. I don't know. He could end up a complete dropout, loser, screw up, jerk. I'm not telling you that I am guaranteeing my son's success. I'm telling you that I am trying to do what's best practice, and I'm trying to do everything I can by being thoughtful and mindful about what is going on with him to try and lead to the best things. Think about the behaviors you have, and are they getting you to where you want to be? And I use Charlie to help me be a better person. How often do I get angry at hockey? How often do I yell? How often do I belittle you players? Now, that doesn't mean at times there aren't the thoughts in my head. But here's what I know is that if I go to this, if I go to punishment, if I go to these processes, it's not going to get me the desired result I want. And that's hard because doing things right always takes longer. This is quick. Kid did something wrong, smack him, kid stops it. What's going to happen when he's 15 though? What's going to happen when he's 25? I don't want Charlie to make good decisions because I'm there. I want Charlie to have a good life for him. I want him to be thoughtful and think about this stuff. Practical applications. Number 1. Computers are great for this because you can set up a ratio. Who has played Clash of Clans? That is not a game. That is a Skinner box. Here's what you do. You push a button and then you wait. And then it's a question of which drops first, the timer or your willpower. How long until you spend money? That's what the game is. You never actually play or do anything, right? You just simply put down icons and wait until time expires to put down more icons. Unless you're McClay, and then it just immediately falls apart and you start buying stuff, right? And his wife puts him on a budget about it. But this tells you stuff about yourself. Should you have a credit card or not? I don't know. Go play Clash of Clans for a month. If you never spend $1 playing Clash of Clans every day, then yeah, get a credit card. If you spend money, don't get a credit card. Just don't, because you don't have the willpower right now to deal with that kind of schedule. This, teach me, is the thing that we used for Charlie. So here's what we did is, again, I've talked about this. He solves math, does spelling, does geometry, does those kind of things. He gets coins. We then use them to buy books. So what we're using is education to reinforce education. At some point, that might go away where getting books isn't enough of a reward. So what we'd have to do is then find something else. So maybe it's you get enough coins, you get to buy Legos, because to me, Legos are educational. You get enough of this, you get to go to chess club, right? Or you get to pay for chess club. It's your money for your allowance to get your stuff. Because what I want to teach them is that education gets you what? The stuff that you want, the rewards. I'm glad nobody said money. I never give him money for it. I always give him the means to get the reward that he wants. Now, stop and think about why some kids hate high school. What do you think? Yeah, the only reward is grades. And if they're not going to college, do the grades matter? So then what is the reward for them? Now think about this. Think about how we treat those kids. Think about how the school has taught them from kindergarten through 12th grade that they're worthless, that they're not good enough because they can't read, because they're not good at math, because they're not good at traditional academics, that the only way to be successful is to go to college. That's it. If you don't go to college, you're going to die alone and penniless and a loser. That's the message we give to those kids all year, every year. And then we wonder why the same type of kids are the ones causing problems. I mean, it's easy to figure out. What do we do, seriously, to celebrate and make 1B kids feel like they are a valuable part of our high school? Yeah, 1 day a year. And to them, a lot of times, I've had kids say, it's great that they're mocking kind of what we do. Like, at what point do we celebrate the kid who's going to become a mechanic, a housing contractor? Like, we never do anything to empower or to affirm those kids. We hide them in the bottom in the corner. And we call them 1B pod kids. Right? Well, hey, I wonder who caused the biggest problems senior year. Kids who feel like they need to be here, see no benefit in being here, have been told for 11, 12 years that their skills mean nothing. Imagine if, give me something you hate to do that you suck at. It doesn't have to be school, it could be anything. Dancing. Imagine if starting in kindergarten, we had an hour and a half a day spent on dance. And we tell you that this is critical. If you can't dance well, you're not going to get into college. If you can't go to college, then you're not going to get a good job. And if you don't get a good job, you're going to be miserable. And we do that for 12 years. How much do you like this place? Not much. We will see you guys Monday.